Hi, this is King Grossman. Welcome back to YourTown and our next segment. And I'm very happy to have Paul Fridlund, who is the co-owner of Pilgrims Bookstore and the Secret Garden there in Carmel. And Paul, thank you for being here. It's great to be with you.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, King. Thank you.
You bet. Well, I have to tell you, when we first moved to Carmel, my wife and I, Lisa, one of the first things I do is find the bookstore. And you walk in your shop and you can just feel a literary spirit and a spirit of wholeness in there that's being promoted. And so I want to just start off by, and I know you and Cynthia, or your wife, are co-owners of the store. But talk to me a little bit about Pilgrim's Way and the Secret Garden, kind of what I'll say beyond a bookstore. It is a bookstore, but beyond a bookstore, the spirit of the place, and how you came to that, and how you try to nurture that a little bit, if you would.
Well, it's like carrying on a tradition in Carmel of the eclectic, artisticness of the town, I guess you would call it. The store's been there for 48 years now.
My goodness, yeah.
And I guess I would be the fifth owner. And I met Cynthia in the store.
Okay.
And which is a whole nother story and altogether. But and so we're just kind of carrying on the character of the town, which is just an eclectic mix of artists and artisans and people, when they come in the store, we hear all the time, we hear that it has more than just merchandise, but it has a feeling.
Yes, it does.
It has a feeling, yeah. In fact, we even had a priest come in that told us that he had been all over the world, even to the Vatican a couple of times, and he said that when he walked out into into the Secret Garden, he heard the voice of God.
My goodness, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just wow. And people tell us that they really get a good feeling when they walk in through the door. One gal even told me that she said, when I walk in through this door, I feel like I'm being hugged.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very unique place. It really is, in a very good way. And I appreciate you and your sensitivity and Cynthia's to nurturing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we started out as being kind of a metaphysical, some people would call it a spiritual focus. But then as the other bookstores in town just kind of fell by the wayside, we decided, well, we have to be a community bookstore. And so we expanded our focus. And the old focus that we had just sort of, we still have it.
Yes.
But it's not as prominent.
Yes.
And so now we're carrying everything that we can to cater to the community. And for people that walk in through the door that are just from all walks of life.
And you get that in your store, yes.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That must be fun, meeting folk from around the globe.
Oh, that's the best part of the job is just, socializing with everybody that comes in through the door.
Yeah. So as you, in a wonderful indie bookstore that has a certain amount of shelf space, folk rely on the proprietor to select good reads.
Right.
And so that's got to be a challenge. So please talk about how you go about kind of sifting down to say, let's actually put this on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it reflects our own values. We have personal values of nature awareness, and we're actually a green business too. I didn't know if you knew that, but
that's wonderful.
We're certified by the county health, and so our focus is on sustainable practice, and that's just a side note. But we also carry we do carry bestsellers because that's bread and butter.
Yes, yes.
But around those bestsellers, we have like the fringe element. You might say
Indies and stuff.
Indies and stuff. That one of the things people say so much is that they'll come in, they'll look around, and they'll say, "Wow, there's so much selection here that I just don't see anywhere else in one place.
Yes.
And, we've got a relatively small footprint. So we have to manage not just every square foot, but every square inch.
Yes, well.
So each one of these titles are hand-selected. And, there's a process that we use, but,
Well, one of the things I really enjoy about coming in your store is that if I like to go in and kind of read flaps. And then maybe if I then sort it down through that to reading the first paragraph or two just to see what that author starts off with.
Right.
But when I'm asking about, books, your inventory in there. And not only you and Cynthia, but everyone that works there seems to. And that's a part of, that's really the value of having an independent bookseller. And so that must be a challenge to actually acquaint yourself, not just with what's selling, but what's in the book. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that is one of the positive aspects about an independent bookstore, is because we know our inventory. Not that we have time to read all the books, because we don't.
Right. That would be impossible.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because some people assume that we do. And, but we get a lot of the sense of what the books are about just by talking with people.
Okay. And,
what did you think about this book? And what did you, what about this, do you like about it? And it's a concept of selling that's, it's more personal, really, than, say, a commodity selling. Like you wouldn't talk to a car salesman about, your own personal interests.
Right.
And your own wants and needs and feelings. But with a bookstore, you kind of do, because you're getting personal with people. And so, we pick up the meanings of these titles a lot of times just by being around them and talking with them, and talking with customers and also publishers.
Right.
And the authors.
And the authors.
And the authors as well. So.
Well, and you have a nice reading series as well as a literary performance, what I'll call a literary performance arts outreach that you do, that I've really enjoyed. Ambrose Bierce characterized.
Yeah.
You've done Mark Twain and many others. But talk about how that came about, or how you keep that moving, and because that's a really nice aspect to what you do, I think.
Yeah, we've started recently to expand into areas of just community events. We've got a beautiful relationship with the Carmel Art Association across the street, where we can host some events that are more of a performance nature. And we've got some great local talent. And so we'll put on, character portrayals. And that in itself has become a nice, it's another reason to bring the community together.
Yes.
More than just having authors.
Right. Read.
Other than, we do have some really good authors coming in as well. And we do have what we call a meet and greet series in the store, where an author will come in and just be with the people and converse as they come in the door. And
very casual and available.
It's very casual, and we've decided that's really a good way to connect people one-on-one.
Right.
With authors. But the event series is really, it's starting to take hold, and so
they're like one-man shows, one-man plays.
Right, exactly.
Or one-woman plays. And and the art center is such a great place to be in.
Yeah, it's got another great feeling.
And you're getting good attendance. I've been to them. I mean, you're getting pretty much full house in there,
right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So keep that up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really we're having fun with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so let's talk about you've got the best-selling authors in there, and you've
Right.
got indie authors that I'm sure that's probably even more of a challenge to choose because there's so many indie authors.
Oh yeah.
And then another challenge would be area authors, and you've got some good ones in there. But I'll have to say, in a very positive way, as an area author,
Yeah.
one of the roles of the bookseller again is to be trusted, to have books in there that folk want to read. And so you have to say yes and you have to say no, and I appreciate that. But maybe talk about the area author scene and what you see there and some of your impressions.
Yeah, we've got a lot of amazing local talent.
Yes.
A lot of local authors, some famous, and some starting out, and some that want to remain local, which is great. And so we have, because we have a small area that we have to manage in the store, and a lot, we're approached a lot by the local authors, and that we have developed a kind of a criteria, and because we want to be open to everybody.
Yes.
And so a lot of times that what we'll do is we will set up the meet and greet and see how that goes and kind of get a feeling and see how an author's titles are selling, and if it's a good fit in the store.
Right. Right.
Based on who we are and who, and there's certain aspects of a title or a book that will allow it to sell.
Yes.
And being any business, just like any business, we have to have a certain turnover.
Yes.
So we'll kind of venture out and we'll try things, and
Gives you a way to see if they have legs in
right,
your store.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So.
Some do, some don't, but being part of the community, that's what we do.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I've been to some of
Yeah.
those events, and they're
Yeah.
very. It's really neat because folk can get and just talk with the author for 5 or 10 minutes if they want.
Right.
Oftentimes,
Right.
And the author certainly can present their work and
Right.
and so forth. And
Yeah.
it's very very accessible
Yeah.
to readers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's good. So. Okay, so you've talked about a little bit about the challenges of running an indie bookstore as a business,
Right.
and maybe a little bit about that with regard to, at least from my perspective, I've kind of watched the big box stores explode, and now we're seeing them shrink, and maybe that in a roundabout way brings back interest in indie bookstores again, and gives opportunity for that, and a little more focus on the indie bookstore, which I am all for. But how have you experienced the marketplace like that?
Well, as far as we're concerned, being an indie bookstore and garden shop as well,
Right.
We're creating an experience. We're not just selling commodity stuff.
Right.
People come in and they'll see lots of stuff that they probably even didn't realize that they would see, and so that's helped a lot. I know the whole retailing experience is absolutely changing,
Okay.
and it's changing every day. Especially with the online presence,
Right.
and what's happening there. So yeah, we're trying to hold on to that experience.
Yes, the service that you provide as a
Right.
bookseller,
Yeah,
and the knowledge and the
Right.
overall feel of the store.
right.
And I'll just say this: I order all my books through you. And the reason I do is because, I could go on Amazon and get them as anyone could.
Yeah,
But somebody's going to make that bit in the middle And I really want it to be a really good local indie bookstore.
Right.
Because of that community base. And
Right.
so
Right.
I'll just say I encourage everyone to do that in this area.
Oh, thank you, King. Yeah, because what a lot of people don't realize is the effect of where their dollar goes.
Right. Right.
You know, if they're buying something online, it's going out of the community.
Yes.
And you're not supporting your local infrastructure.
Right.
So that's just a fact.
Part of being more sustainable for us in this community.
Oh, absolutely. Sustainable is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Because and there it's interesting that a lot of people are kind of losing that connection.
Right.
And it's, we're just holding our own, and we're just keeping that local, buy local, and keeping that message going.
Yeah, you are in a very friendly place.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's quit talking about books for a minute. We've got a couple minutes here, maybe, and I know that you and Cynthia love nature, and of course Carmel and this whole area, Monterey Bay area, is just ideal for that.
Right.
But what are some of your favorite things to do? And you also told me we've been visiting about tracking wild animals trails and so forth, and that's got to be wild. So talk about what you guys love to do outside that bookstore some.
Oh, well, just a matter of just getting out in nature.
Yes.
Getting out in nature, and I talked about tracking earlier with you, and it's not just watching the animal footprints, but it's watching birds and which way the wind blows, and watching it, what bugs are doing, But it's all about just exercising our awareness skills.
Yes.
And being outdoors. That in itself is a lost connection that we're getting in society.
I agree with you.
There's some studies done that it's really having an effect on people.
Right. The disconnection.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And you spend more time outdoors, telling you. Yeah.
It kind of informs the let's call it wholeness nature of the bookstore and the Secret Garden shop as well. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's we love the connection between the books, with knowledge and ideas, and then also having the garden area, the garden shop, which is kind of bridging the literary and the nature aspect of humanity, really.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite hike?
Favorite hike? Well, we live in Carmel Valley, so there's lots of great trails out there. We do have, every other month, we have a tracking club that meets, and we go out tracking. And anybody's invited, You don't have to have any experience whatsoever.
And I'll tell you, let's be in the bookstore and be in nature. And Paul, I thank you for being with us, and our time is up.
All right.
Wonderful.